My name is Roger Watson. I'm one of the pastors here on church, and we started back when David Tolliday was here when we were on 11th Street. Believe it or not, been going to church here 40 years. Yeah. My wife and I have been married 47 years. We have 2 kids together, and we have 3 grandkids. So I will tell stories on her. I won't talk about me, but I'll talk about her. But don't tell her that I told you the stories, okay? All right, let's get started. My wife and I, and guys, I put papers on the thing because you can write notes or you can come up here and take pictures of it afterwards if you don't want to take the notes. Totally up to you. My wife and I used to live in an old house. I draw a lot, but I am not an artist. Those old houses used to be built up on pillars. Now it's all a cement slab. But it doesn't work for the point that I want to make. If this house represents your relationship, the pillars are the foundation. What does it take to make a strong, healthy marriage? Name the pillars. What? Got to have trust. Honesty, you got to speak up, okay? I mean, hard to hear. And you get older, you know, things start to go. You can't see well, can't hear. I got to have honesty. What else? You got to be able to talk. What else? What? Patience. Oh. Don't make it harder than it is. Does it take some love? Yeah. Might want to put some love in there. Okay? Does it take faith? See, I'm one of the pastors here. I'm also a marriage and family therapist. I actually work all day in an office, and I do lots of counseling in the office. So not everyone that comes in there would say they have faith as a pillar. It's a pillar in my relationship, okay? You might want to have some faith. Does it take fun? Is fun a pillar? Take fun out of your relationship, out of your marriage, and tell me what you get, okay? Gonna take some fun. Does it take money? Yeah? Little hesitancy there. Do you know what the number 1 reported reason for marital breakup is? Even more than infidelity. Money problems. Okay? Although you can have all the money in the world, don't mean you're gonna have a strong marriage. Ask Tiger Woods how that works. That man was making $100 million a year, couldn't keep his family together. Just because you've got a lot of money doesn't mean you're going to have a strong relationship, but it does take money. Look at the movie stars. They're making more money than they're going to spend in their lifetime. You can't keep track of who's with who. Every time a new tabloid comes out, they're running with someone else. Okay? But it does take money. Okay? Does it take intimacy? And there is a difference between intimacy and sex. Sex is a physical act. Intimacy is sharing deep feelings with one another. It's being emotionally open and honest, transparent with one another. Does it take respect? So we may have to start adding some other, if you sat here and thought about it, you could come up with more. Okay? Do you guys know what the greatest danger to those old houses are? Termites. More of those old houses are destroyed by termites than fires, floods, and earthquakes combined. Termites are just little things. If there was a termite on this section of the wood right here, you wouldn't pay any attention to it. It's so small and insignificant. I mean, you could see it with the naked eye if you really look. But if you don't get rid of that termite, he's going to do some major damage to this. Termites are little things that get in and start to eat away at a relationship. If the termites get in and eat that pillar away, will that house fall down? No. But if you don't get rid of them, when they finish with that one, they'll go on to this one. House going to fall down? Probably still not going to fall down. Do you know what most couples do with termites? Nothing. You know what happens when you do nothing to termites? They go on to this one. Here's what's going to happen. a major storm is going to hit this house. Storms are facts of life. We all have to endure storms. I may not endure the same storms you do, but we all have them. Could be the death of a family member. Could be the loss of a job. Could be an accident that leaves somebody scarred or maimed. Around here, it's those darn deployments, 6 to 8 month deployments. Some storm is going to hit this house. If enough of these pillars have been eaten away, that house is going to come crashing down, because no marriage can withstand the pressures of life if you don't maintain a strong foundation. Here's a kind of sobering thought. You know, the divorce rate is not much different inside the church as it is outside. So statistically, look around. The couple to your left and your right, one of them is going to get a divorce. Ooh. Why is that? Because we don't invest in the pillars. We don't take care of the foundation, and we just let the termites eat and eat and eat, and eventually a storm comes by. And if enough of these pillars are eaten away, it's going to come crashing down. So you got to identify the termites. You've got to get rid of the termites, because what good have you done if you just put wood reinforcers over the tops of the termites? What good have you done? Termites are going to say, thanks for lunch. All you did is put a Band-Aid on it. You just delay the inevitable. You've got to identify the termites. You've got to get rid of the termites. But even before you do that, do you want the house? How valuable is the house? Because I have people that come into my office, they don't really want the house. I only came in here because she made me come in here, okay? I don't want to be with her. Well, you might as well get a divorce, because things aren't going to work out if you both don't want the house. It takes two to make a marriage. One cannot do it. Does that make sense? So you got to identify the termites. How do we get at that? Do you guys know in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, it talks about what love is? You guys know the section I'm talking about? It says, love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not jealous. Love doesn't brag. It doesn't act arrogant. It doesn't act unbecomingly. It doesn't seek its own. It's not provoked. It doesn't take into account a wrong suffered. It doesn't rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. If you take the opposite of what it says love is, it tends to be a lot of the termites. Love is patient. What's the opposite? Being impatient. Either one of you get impatient? In my marriage, I'm the impatient one. I do not like to be late for a meeting. I want to be early or on time. It is embarrassing. You walk in, everyone turns around, looks at you, you know, I don't want to be. Don't you guys like going to the movies? 5 minutes after this movie starts, some fool comes in. They got to sit in that seat because it's the only one open in the whole stinking theater. So you got to get up and let them crawl over. Get here on time, sucker, okay? 25 minutes late. I don't want to be late. Several years ago, my wife and I were supposed to go to a meeting. It's about 10 minutes till, okay? And I'm like, man, we got to go. So I go in to see if she's ready to go. She's in the bathroom putting her makeup on, doing that thing women do, okay? And I'm standing in the doorway. How much longer? She goes, you're not helping, standing looking at me. You make me nervous. Go in the other room. So I go in the front room and I sit there for 10 minutes. We're supposed to be at this meeting. I know what I'm going to do to help my wife. I'm going to go sit in the car. So I make sure I close the front door extra hard so she hears me go sit in the car. I sit in the car for 5 minutes. We're now 5 minutes late. How long does it take to put makeup on, for crying out loud? I know what I'm going to do to help my wife. I'm going to start the car and honk the horn. So I'm out there for another 2 or 3 minutes with the car running, honking a horn. Now I am so frustrated and so upset, I'm going to leave. She could find her own stinking way, or she could stay home. I don't care. I'm getting ready to back out. My wife comes strolling out the front door. I wanted her to run out there. She just nonchalantly walks over, opens the car, gets in, closes it, looks at me and says, "Don't you ever do that to me again." Then we didn't say another word all the way to that meeting. It was hard to breathe in there. The air was so thick. Now you guys are going to look at me and you're going to say, "Pastor Roger, I'm losing faith in you, man. Okay? That ain't that big of a deal. Get over yourself." And if you just look at that one situation, it's not that big of a deal. But imagine if that happened week after week, month after month, year after year. What do you think that termite is going to do to that pillar? Just that termite. Eat away at it, eat away at it, eat away at it. It says that love is not easily angered. The opposite would be getting angry. Either one of you get angry? Anger is a termite. How respected do you feel when somebody's pissed off at you? Do you know what that termite does to that pillar? Eats away at it, eats away at it, eats away at it. It says that love doesn't seek its own. The opposite would be, I'm going to do what I darn well please. I don't need to check in with you. Being selfish. I personally think that is the number one problem in America. Selfishness. This will date me. I remember listening to John Kennedy give a speech when he was inaugurated president. When I have kids that are around, they're like, "Ooh, you're that old?" I'm like, yeah. I wasn't at the inauguration. I was listening to it on TV. John Kennedy is primarily remembered for two things, aside from the alleged affair with Marilyn Monroe. The Cuban Missile Crisis, where he probably averted World War III, and his speech, where he coined a phrase who people that weren't even alive can quote for you. Don't ask what your country can do for you, but rather ask what you can do for your country. He is the one that coined that phrase. If we don't get back to that philosophy, the United States is doomed. This is a sobering thought. Do you know it's possible to not have a United States of America? You read world history. Anytime selfishness rose to power, the country always collapsed. Always. Man, our whole system is based on selfishness. How do you vote someone into office? What are you going to do for me? If you're not going to do anything for me, I ain't going to vote for you. How many self-interest groups are in Washington, D.C. right now, lobbying, picketing, writing for their cause, their agenda, everything is me, 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 me. Everything is about me. A country cannot stand on selfish interests. A community can't stand on selfish interests. A marriage can't stand on selfish interests. Guys, I don't believe that love is a feeling. Love is a choice. True love is choosing to put the needs of the other person above your own. It's thinking of their well-being above your own. So you know what the opposite of love is? It's not hate. It's selfishness. Do you know what that termite does to that pillar? Eats away at it, eats away at it, eats away at it. It doesn't take into account a wrong suffered. Love, the opposite would be holding on to grudges, bringing up the past and using it as a weapon in the present. Do you know why that's so destructive? Because the past is fact. There's nothing you can do to undo the past. No magic wand, no magic prayer. You could do penance until your knees are bloody. The fact is, the past still happened. So if my wife keeps bringing up my past and using it as a weapon to beat me with into guilt or submission or whatever, it'll create hopelessness, whatever. And hopelessness is not one of those pillars. That is a destructive termite that so many people have running rampant in their homes. It says that love is not jealous. The opposite would be being jealous. And jealousy doesn't have to be, I'm afraid you're going to cheat on me. Jealousy can be, I'm jealous for your time, I'm jealous for your attention, I'm jealous for your affection, it can be smothering. Do you know you can be too close in a relationship? The clinical term is called enmeshment. It's not healthy. I believe that God created us as unique individuals, and in a healthy relationship, you want to encourage that, not stifle it. That jealousy will stifle that and smother it. But closely related to that, it says that love believes all things. The opposite would be being suspicious. What do you think my relationship with my wife would be like if every day I came home, she met me at the front door? Where were you? Who were you with? What were you doing? How long were you there? Who'd you talk to? Let me see your cell phone. Turn the spotlights on and give me the 3rd degree. You know what'll happen? I'll start staying away longer and longer. Because if I'm going to get the 3rd degree, I might as well get it right before I go to bed rather than all night long. That will cause this ripping to take place in your relationship. If you look at those and you take, that's not an exhaustive list by any means, but man, it's a lot of the termites that get in and start to eat away at the foundation. And why do most marriages fall apart? Because they let the termites and they don't do anything about them. But I think pride is a termite. I think being a nag is a termite. I had a couple that came into my office. She decided that she needed some new clothes. So she took the credit card and $3,000 later on clothes for herself. And they don't have a lot of money. What do you think being impulsive will do to that finances pillar? Eat away at it, eat away at it, eat away at it. What are the termites? You got to identify the termites. You got to get rid of the termites. When I got ready to sell that old house, not my wife, the house, they told us that we had termites, so they had to fumigate. I have a lot of people that come into my office that are in the military. They get transferred over here from like Virginia. Where are you guys from?
I came from Japan and I came out here.
Yeah? I will talk about fumigating, and they're like, what? They must not fumigate in Virginia. I don't know, maybe the houses are all made out of brick or so, I don't know. But I tell them, here, if you see a tent over the house, they ain't having a circus. They're flooding that baby with poison, okay? They're getting rid of the critters. You guys may need to fumigate your relationship. Now, I'm not suggesting you poison her, okay? Don't you do that, okay? The only thing that I have found that gets rid of relational termites, you have to fumigate with forgiveness. And it is the only thing that I have found that gets rid of relational termites. And forgiveness is not me going to my wife and saying, I can't believe the words that came out of my mouth last night. The way I talked to you, I feel so bad, so guilty. I am so sorry for talking to you like that. That is not forgiveness. That's me being sorry. Forgiveness takes two. Both have to be involved for forgiveness to take place. It takes me going to my wife and saying, I can't believe the words, I feel so bad, so guilty, so sorry. Will you forgive me for talking to you like that? She has to respond. Both have to be involved, because if I go to my wife and say, I can't believe the words that came out of my mouth last night, the way I feel so bad, so guilty, so sorry, will you forgive me? And my wife says, it'll be a cold day in hell before I forgive you. Well, then we're going to continue to have termites. And it's only going to be a matter of time before enough of these pillars get eaten away, and that house is going to come crashing down. It takes two. Let me put it in the context of your faith. You know, Scripture says that God forgave all mankind of their sin so that we could spend eternity with Him in heaven. Is all mankind going to spend eternity with God in heaven? Why not? He forgave them. Because forgiveness hasn't happened. Unless you respond to the redemptive work of Christ on the cross, there's no forgiveness. Without forgiveness, there's no relationship. It takes two. Both have to be involved for forgiveness to take place. I gave this talk once, this diagram, at a marriage retreat. There's a bunch of couples. And at the break, this guy came up who fumigated houses for a living. He says, hey, you want to know something interesting about your drawing? I'm like, what's that? He said, you are aware, aren't you? There's a thing called subterranean termites. They burrow underground to get away from the poison. He says, you could fumigate that house. You could put wood reinforcers. You could put brand new pillars. You can have a house that's termite free. And a year or so later, the same termites, the ones you thought you got rid of, come back and start eating away again. I thought we dealt with this. No, it just went dormant. The point I get from this, these pillars don't just happen. You have to make them happen. You have to make them happen all your married life. I told you my wife and I have been married for 47 years. I won't make it another 40, but if I make it another 20, okay, I have to work on the respect and the trust and the intimacy and the honesty and the love and the communication. You have to work on those all your married life, because if you neglect those pillars, if the termites don't get them, dry rot will. You've got to focus on these, and you've got to identify these and get rid of them. What are the termites that are eating away at your relationship? Now, what do you do? They don't just happen. What do you do to make them happen? Communication isn't just going to happen. So what are you going to do to make communication happen? When? I wonder how much undivided time couples give where they talk about serious topics. Very little. They're not being open and honest with one another. They're not sharing deep feelings with one another. Men would rather have a root canal than talk about feelings. Guys, that's what intimacy is. Trust. What do you do to make trust happen? Do what you say you're going to do, be where you say you're going to be, that kind of a thing. In my office, I use this as an object lesson. I have a candle, and I'll put it on the table, and if Albert was there, I would say, Albert, tell me what you see. Describe this candle. And Albert would say, yeah, it's a glass jar, it's got black stripes on it, it's kind of a pinkish color, it's got soot marks on the top. And I'd be like, you don't see the knitting needles and the balls of yarn and the pillows in the shape of hearts and the pink knit blanket and the Afghan draped across? And then I'll ask him, who's right and who's wrong? And I'd say, if someone listened to what you described and they listened to what I described, would they think we're describing the same object? So does that make me delusional, or are you blind as a bat? And here is the point that I make. Perspective is valid. Even if I don't agree with your perspective, perspective is valid. Trust gets established when you try to look at a situation from the other person's point of view without defending your own. Can you look at her perspective on things without defending your perspective? If I believe you have my well-being at heart and not just your own, I'll trust you. But if it has to be your way is the only way, your way is the right way, I'm going to keep a wall up. If all of us right here were to go out on the intersection out here on 13th and Hanford-Almona Road out here, we're all standing around and we watch an accident. Bam! They take us as eyewitnesses. You think we're going to have the same exact eyewitness account? Why not? We saw the same accident, the same intersection at the same time. Why don't we have the same exact eyewitness account? Different perspectives. Does that make my perspective more right than yours because I'm one of the pastors and of the church that's here and I'm older than you are? Or does that make you more right because you're younger and you got better eyesight? Or does that make you more right because you're a woman? My wife would argue that. Don't do that, okay? It's not a matter of right or wrong. It's perspective. And perspective is valid. And then my candle, I'll take the candle and turn it around. And on the other side, there's a picture of knitting needles and balls of yarn and pillows. And I ask, why didn't you describe it? And he would say, I didn't see it. Does that mean it wasn't there? Nobody sees the totality of anything. We all have blind spots. And you know what? So many of the arguments come in. My way is the right, it's as plain as a nose on your face, and we get into these arguments, and because I invalidate your perspective because mine is the right one. Are you guys going to recognize what are the termites? Because if you don't, I hate to say it, half of you will end up in a divorce. And it doesn't have to be that way. What are you going to do to invest in these? Do you know the next 6 weeks what we're going to be talking about? Next week, I think Michael and Candace are going to be here, and they're going to talk about love and romance. John and Paula Lane are going to come one week, and they're going to talk about finances. Stacy and Sylvia are going to come, and they're going to talk about faith and the importance of your faith. We're going to talk about these pillars. Okay? We're going to talk more in depth about communication and how to have a fight in one of our sessions too. But it's important. Are you investing in your pillars? They don't just happen. You got to work at them. You got to work at them all your married life. Here's another thing. Let's talk a little bit about communication. Eric Bernet developed this concept. And Eric says we all have 3 sides to our personality. All of us have a child inside of us. All of us have a parent inside of us. And all of us have an adult inside of us. I'm not talking chronological age. I'm not talking 12 and under. I'm in my late 60s, and my wife says I got a pretty strong child side. You can't do that. You're going to break your leg doing that. I just want to have some fun, okay? My 16-year-old granddaughter has an adult inside of her. It's not fully developed, but it's there. You can see it. This is in all of us. Behind everything that a person does, behind every behavior, is a motivation. There's a reason why you do it. You guys came in here. One of you said, I came in here because she made me come in here. I'm just appeasing, but there's still a reason. There's a motivation behind everything that you do. If you break this up and you think in generalities, there's always exceptions to a rule. But generally speaking, what motivates kids? You guys got 10 kids, okay? What motivates kids? How do you get them to do something?
Fun.
You bribe them, okay? You make it fun. It's got to be fun or easy. You got to give them a reward. Why? Because kids are selfish. What's in it for me? It's got to benefit me. If it doesn't benefit me, I'm not going to do it. Okay? Kids are motivated by attention. Look at me, look and see what I can do. I can do somersaults. That's my little 9-year-old granddaughter. Look what I can do, Papa. It's why high school kids like their parents to come watch them compete in sporting events. They're motivated by the attention. They like the attention. If I had a big bowl of broccoli and a big bowl of potato chips, and I invited a bunch of kids, you guys help yourself. Which one do you think they're going to eat? Without a doubt, they're going after those chips. Now, I've read, if I invite 100 kids in here, 3 of them will eat the broccoli. You will find kids that will eat broccoli over potato chips. But 97 of them are going to devour the chips. Why is that? Because they taste better. That's why. Because kids are motivated by their senses. It's what looks good, it's what feels good, it's what tastes good. That's what I'm going to do. If it doesn't tickle my senses, I'm not going to do it. Kids don't throw anything at me, moms, are not motivated by the threat of consequences. No consequences. Moms always want to, what do you mean no consequences? No, they're shaped by consequences. They are not motivated by the threat of consequences. When my kids were young, I used to tell them, don't do this. If you do this, I'm going to punish you. Here's how I'm going to punish you, so don't do it. Go away and come back an hour later. Did we not just talk about that? I told you not to do that, all that ranting and raving and yelling and screaming. It's like the Peanuts cartoon. All they're hearing is wah, 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 wah. There needs to be consequences because consequences shape behavior. But if you try to use the threat of consequences to force compliance, when your kids get to be about 14, 15 years old, they're going to tell you where you can shove it. It will backfire on you. Okay? No, I'm the parent. You will do what I tell you to do. They will get to a point, and you will create defiance doing that. There needs to be consequences. We love our kids so much, we rescue them out of the consequences. No. Can you let them suffer the consequences and learn from it? But some of those consequences might be deadly, so we don't want to allow that. But if you just yell at them, it will backfire on you. You get a kid who's starting high school, taking a math class. Why do they make us study this math crap for? I am never going to use this. This is stupid. Why do they make us study this stuff? Harley goes to class, doesn't apply himself, gets a D or an F in this math class. 4 years later, he wants to go to college. He applies to all these colleges. College looks at his transcript and sees this F from 4 years ago and says, we don't want you. You're not going here. The child is not thinking about what I'm doing right now and how this is going to affect my life in 5 years from now. They're only thinking about right now. Why? Because kids are motivated by immediate gratification. I want it now. I don't want to wait for it. I don't want to work for it. I want you to give it to me now. In fact, the child would say, you owe it to me. That's your job. You're supposed to pay for it. Why should I pay for this stuff? I don't know if you would agree with me or not, but I think when kids turn 16, they should start paying rent. Try to convince a 16-year-old of that. Hey, that's a whole nother story, okay? But have you guys noticed how bills come due every month? What is wrong with Southern California Edison? They have the audacity to send me a bill every month. What is wrong with them? That's life. Do you know how many kids get out there and fall flat on their face and get into all kinds of financial problems because their parents have loved them so much? They have done everything for them, and they've actually crippled them. They have not prepared them for life. They've crippled them. Now, when I say pay rent, I don't necessarily mean $800 a month. If it's $20 a month, whatever, just something to get them in that habit of making that monthly stroke. You're trying to prepare them for life, okay? The parent is motivated to protect. The parent is motivated to provide. The parent is motivated to instruct, to teach right from wrong. So your morals actually come out of this parent side. Where the child is selfish, the parent is motivated by self-sacrifice. I will go without so that my kids can have. I'll wear my clothes an extra year longer than I should so my kids can have the new ones. I'll go without so that they can have. Why? Because the parent is motivated by the family. What's in the best interest of the family? They're always thinking of the well-being of others above themselves. The difference between the parent and the adult is motivated by logic or reason. It's not that my adult side doesn't have emotions. I just keep the emotions on the shelf. I have a decision to make. I'm going to put all the pros here, all the cons here. Based upon the facts and the data that I have available to me, I'm going to come to a logical decision on what I'm going to do. This side, you mess with a mama's kids, you better look out, man. She's going to have all claws bared if you're messing with her kids. This side is real emotional, makes lots of decisions out of their emotions. This one puts the emotions on the shelf and uses logic and reason. The adult is motivated by goals, looking forward to the future, planning for the future, strategizing for the future. What do we need to do now so that we can get there then? This is more future-oriented. This is present-oriented. This is immediate-oriented. Where the child is selfish and the parent is self-sacrificing, the adult is motivated by self-improvement. How am I going to grow as a person if I choose to do this? How will this better me as a person if I choose to do this? The parent says, how will the family be better if I choose to do this? The child says, what do I get out of it? Where this one's motivated by immediate gratification, this one is more delayed gratification. I can work now and get the payoff later. I don't have to have an immediate payoff. In my office, I have my license. It has to be put out there where people can see it. It's my license to practice as a marriage and family therapist. And I would tell kids, especially that come in and say, you see this piece of paper? This piece of paper cost me 10 years of my life. 7 years of college, 3 years of intern work and state licensing to get this piece of paper. So if I was to take this piece of paper to some kid and tell him, you're going to give me 10 years of your life for this piece of paper, you know what that kid will tell me I could do with that piece of paper? You could stick it where the sun don't shine. I ain't giving you 10 minutes. I'll take the potato chips. You keep the paper. The adult will reason it out and say that piece of paper is going to put me in a higher income bracket. It's going to open a lot of doors of opportunity I wouldn't get. I'm going to grow as a person as I take the classes. I'll enjoy it. You know what? I'll do it. I'll pay the price. I give you the 10 years. The parent would say, I would like to do that because I could use the extra money. But I got too much on my plate. There ain't no way. I'm going to add all of that to what's going on. I'm going to have to tell you, no, I can't do it. The child, they won't even entertain the thought. Give me the potato chips. You keep the stupid paper. See the difference? Okay? We're going to tie, this is all tied into relationships and communication. What do kids do besides throw tantrums? Whine and cry when they don't get their way? You guys, you know, I know your kids don't do this, but mine did. Argue and fight. Kids know how to manipulate. They're sneaky. But kids are loving, they're creative, they're playful. There's a lot of good to kids, okay? But kids know how to waste time. You know what else kids know how to waste? Money, yes. Kids are messy. Kids are impulsive. It's because they're not thinking of consequences. They're just doing what feels good in the moment. So they get out there and they make a lot of dumb choices because they're not thinking things through. They're just doing what feels good in the moment. If you let that motivate what you do, just do what feels good in the moment, you're going to get into a lot of trouble. I was asked to come to Hanford East, Hanford High, about 10 years or so ago. They asked me to be a guest speaker. It was all seniors in this class, civics or whatever. But I gave this lecture because I think every kid in America needs to hear this lecture. But I got to this point in this talk, and I turned to those kids and I said, hey, I want to ask you guys a really simple question, but I'd like you to give me an honest answer because I want to use the data. I'm going to use your answers for future lectures. So come on, guys, be serious with me, okay? Here is my question. What do parents do? They start laughing and giggling, cutting up. You know what the number one is? You know what they do? Nag. They nag. Yeah. They nag, or they lecture, or they yell at you. It means the same thing to kids. That's the number one answer. That's what parents do. Parents are opinionated or judgmental. My way is the right way. I've been around the block. I've been there, done that. I know what's best. So you need to sit here. I'm going to give you a lecture on how to live your life. Because that's what parents do. The parent needs order or structure. Things need to be picked up and put in their place. And of course, it doesn't go where you think it goes. It goes where I tell you it goes. So you need to sit here. I'm going to give you a lecture on how to clean the house, because that's what parents do. So where this one is messy, this one obsesses on things being clean. Parents worry, don't they? Parents nurture. Fall down and get hurt, you're looking for mom or dad, because that's what parents do. The adult goes to work. This is interesting. The adult goes to school. Why? Why is going to school an adult feature when it's usually kids that do it? What's school intended to do? Train you, prepare you for the future, get you a piece of paper to hang on the wall to open doors of opportunity. But if you ask most kids if they want to go to school, no. You know why? Because it's not fun. It's not easy. It's work. School is intended to prepare you for your future. That's why it's an adult feature. But look, they're both doing it. Guys, here's the point that I want to make. It's not what a person is doing per se that you want to get at. It's the motivation behind what they're doing. That's what you want to get at. The adult is going to school to prepare them for their future. The child is going to school because they have to. The law says they have to. Same behavior, different motivation. This one wastes money. This one's going to save money. But parents save money too. But why do parents save money? Because their kids' shoes are going to wear out. They're going to outgrow the clothes. The washing machine may break down. The car is going to need new tires. I want my kids to go to college. But everything centers around the family. Parents save money for the needs of the family. Why does the adult save money? Get to be my age, you're going to know why. I got to retire someday. Or there's a house on the lake I got my eye on. I'd like to buy that house someday. It's all around goals and self-improvement with a future orientation to it. Same behavior, different motivation. All three sides like to socialize. All three. But who do parents socialize with? Other parents or their kids. That's who they socialize with. The adult socializes outside the family. I just want to go dancing. I just want to have a nice dinner. They're going to socialize to relax. They socialize to solve problems. The Joneses got kids their age. Let's go out with them. We can get some insights and learn how to make some changes around here. They socialize to have fun. Same behavior, different motivation. Now, I believe that God created us with all three. And if you're going to thrive in life, you need all three. But what happens is life and the pressures of life tend to push us into one or two of those. You dominate or get stuck in any one of those, and you're going to have problems. Any one. What would life be like if all you had was your adult side? What would life be like? With a capital B. Boring. These people are always living for the future. When does the future get here? Never. This is always the present. They don't live life, they exist in life. They do the same thing for 40 or 50 years and they don't deviate from it. Same old monotonous rut day in and day out. Somebody told me a rut is a grave with both ends knocked out. If I told you you're going to do the same thing for the next 50 years and you are not going to deviate from it, you're going to get up, you're going to go to work, you're going to come home, you're going to eat, you're going to sleep. You're going to get up, you're going to go to work, you're going to come home, you're going to eat, you're going to sleep, you're going to get up, and you're going to do that for the next 50 years. Aren't you excited? That's depressing. It's amazing how many people who get stuck here battle with depression because all they do is exist. Lots of depression happens here. What do you think you're going to get if you get stuck here? Yeah, my word for it is chaos. Craziness. In fact, I think our prisons are full of children. Oh, they might be 40, 50, 60 years old. You get stuck there, you will get into trouble. It's only a matter of time. Correctional officers, I know a ton of them, without exception. If you know one, ask them, hey, what do you do for a living? Give me a job description. They'll all tell you the same thing. I'm a glorified babysitter. They must teach them that in the academy because they all say it. Why? Because the inmates got stuck here. If you get stuck here, you're going to get into trouble. It's only a matter of time. You go to prison here, you get depressed here. You know what you get if you get stuck here? Lots of stress. Lots of anxiety. That stress is going to take its toll on you physically. Got any nurses here? Got some nurses? How many diseases and disorders are connected somehow to stress and anxiety? Because they all tell the nurses, we can go into any hospital in the United States, you choose. We go in there right now, there's a high percentage of people that are there because some kind of a stress disorder. Oh, they may be treating a stomach ailment or a heart condition or a neurological problem or an autoimmune disorder, but it was brought on by stress. You go to prison, you go to the hospital, you get depressed. Chaos, stress, and boredom. That's all there is. Take your choice. Ew. If you're going to thrive in life, you need all three. There's nothing wrong with being a child. Just don't get stuck there. There's nothing wrong with being a parent. Just don't get stuck there. There's nothing wrong with being an adult. Just don't get stuck there. Bernays says, problems arise. He called these ego states, EGO, and he said problems arise when someone is in the wrong ego state at the wrong time. This whole concept is called transactional analysis. It's looking at the relational communication patterns that happen in families. This is all on communication. He says problems arise when someone is in the wrong ego state at the wrong time. Several years ago, I came home from work. I walked through the back door into the kitchen. There's a pile of dirty dishes in the sink. Kitchen's a mess. I thought, I'm going to surprise my wife. I'm going to do these dishes. I'm going to make some points. I get in there, I start washing the dishes. Well, my wife heard the noise. Yeah, I didn't know she was at home. I didn't know anyone was home. I hate to say it, if I didn't know she was home, I probably wouldn't have done the dishes. But I'm in there doing the dishes. She hears the noise, so she comes in to see what the noise is. She sees me doing the dishes. Then she starts to give me a lecture on how to do the dishes. Do you know there's a right way to stack the dishes in the dish drainer so the water runs off the way it's supposed to? There's only certain scrapers you can use on that pot. There's only certain sponges you can use on that plate. I said, I come home for a lecture. You do the dishes. And I went in the other room. So what was intended to be a surprise now became a conflict. Why? Because I don't need her to be my mama. It's called a crossed transactional pattern. It's speaking down to someone. It causes problems. Now, I got to be fair. My wife is here. She would say, yeah, Roger, and you do the same thing. And she's right. Get out of the way. You don't know what you're doing. Let me show you how to do that. Doesn't make any difference when someone's there at the wrong time. Okay? Here's another real common one that I see a lot. I could come home. I could say to my wife, you know, I'd like to take you to the show tonight if we have some money. Anything wrong with that? Let's go to the show. But I could also come home and say to my wife, you know, I'd like to take you to the show tonight if we had some money. Hard to do that. Same words, same exact words. The second one is called an ulterior transaction. It's where I'm saying one thing, but I mean another, and you better be able to read between the lines. Because that second one is actually saying, if you weren't such an incompetent fool, we'd have a stinking dollar to go to the show, you idiot. Well, that isn't what I said. That's what I communicated. You know how many people communicate like that? You don't have to listen to their words. You listen to the pitch in their voice, look at the expression on their face, and pay attention to their body language. And you better be good at reading the signs, and you're going to pay the price for it. They're called ulterior transactions. They cause problems. Problems arise in communication when someone is in the wrong ego state at the wrong time. Okay? Now, for parenting, I like using this for parenting. I got to keep an eye on the clock because I can get on a tangent and I got to go home and go to bed. Okay? I like you. If you're going to be a success in our society, I think one of those is more important than the other two. Not that you don't have the other two, but in our society, if you're going to be a success, you better have a strong adult side. Let's say I come to work in my child side. If I come to work. Because it's a whole lot more fun to go over the coast to ride quads on the dunes or go skiing with the kids up in the mountains to break your leg. I'm going to call in sick a lot so I can go play. How long am I going to have a job? In our society, if you don't have a job, what's going to happen to you? You're going to lose things, be on the streets, be on welfare, but I still want what other people have, so I find a way to take it. These people violate the rights of others. Want to know one thing every prisoner in the state of California has in common? They all violated the rights of somebody else. That's what got them there. This doesn't work. But let's say I do show up. Hurricane Katrina, remember that hit the East Coast about 10 years ago? Let's say it does a world tour, comes around and hits California. We could use a little more rain, couldn't we? But not 2 inches in 1 hour. It is pouring. In our office, some of the offices have flat roof with ceiling tiles like this. Let's say there's a leak in the roof. Some of the ceiling tiles get wet, they fall and they make a mess, and they tell me, Roger, come help us clean up this mess before people get here. And I respond, why do I have to clean up the mess? I didn't make the mess. It's not my fault that the roof. Get somebody else, man. I'm going to get my shoes dirty. How long do you think I'll have a job? Hey, guys, try it. Go to work and push off on other people what you don't feel like doing. Let me know how long you keep your job. This doesn't work. Okay? How about if I show up to work on my parents' side? Now remember, my way is the right way, and I'm constantly sticking my nose in other people's business, telling them how they need to do their job the way I think it needs to be done. My secretaries, I'm constantly looking over their shoulders. You need to correct this, move this. I'm following the janitor around. You need to wipe this off, dust this out, empty this, carry this out. How long do you think I'll have a job? They'll all hate me and quit, and I can't run the place by myself. Well, they'll make it so miserable, I have to quit. For the last couple of years, there's several businesses in town that have asked me to come and do service training where they have bickering with their employees, interpersonal conflicts, the tension, and they asked me to do in-service training and do stuff like this. Every time, if you look close enough, there's a parent sticking their nose in somebody else's business, stirring up strife. And if I'm the employer, I want to know what is the source of this, because I'm going to get rid of it. You'll have a job a little longer than that one, but not much. In our society, I think this one is the most important. What are you guys doing to help develop that in your children? How do you help develop this? Because if they don't have a strong adult side, they're not going to do well in our society. Okay? And it's not you have goals for them. What goals do they have? And then you challenge them a little bit. How are you going to achieve that? And you can do that at all ages. And they may have a game they want. That my goal is to buy that game. How are you going to do it? What's it going to take? You know, you help them set the goals. Okay, you're going to need that. The further they go in school, the more of a parent side they're going to need because of the morals. You know, there's a whole lot of things that are deadly now that kids can get involved in. And if they don't have a strong parent side that says, no, I'm not going to do that, you get into trouble. But even when I was a kid, when I was a junior in high school, I was taking trigonometry. In the trig class, we had study partners. My study partner was a senior. I'm a junior, he's a senior. He's a year older than me. One Friday, we're finishing up this project, and he says to me, hey, Roger, so-and-so's having a party tonight, okay? Everyone's going to be there, man. This is the party of the year. It's going to be a kick, man. He says, you got to go. You got to go. He says, I'm taking my car. I'm going to swing by. I'm going to pick you up, and you can go out to party with me tonight, okay? My parents' side kicked in. I said, I don't want to go to the party with you guys. You guys are idiots, okay? You drink way too much. Tomorrow, you're not even going to remember what you did tonight. Sound like a lot of fun barfing your guts up. You know, in fact, I don't think you should go to that party. And I start giving him a lecture why he shouldn't go to that party. I said, but if you go, don't drink and drive. These guys used to get drunk and drive. I said, I don't want to go to the party, but if you'll call me at my house, way before cell phones, you call me at my house, I'll drive my car to the party. I'll be your designated driver. I'll get you guys home safe. He didn't want to listen to my parents' side. The highway patrol estimated they were doing about 105 miles an hour on 16th Avenue drunk. He lost control of the car, flipped it, and took out 5 peach trees out of an orchard out there. It killed him and the other kid in the front seat. 2 fatalities. 2 kids in the back are maimed for the rest of their lives. On Friday, I had a study partner. On Monday, he was dead. Man, you don't think that doesn't mess with you? Why didn't he listen to me? I told him I would come and get him. I could have been in that car. If I'd have went out there, I would have been in that car. Okay? Every year, without exception, you watch. On spring break, some college kid is on a sorority binge party weekend. They're out there having fun. They're pouring hard liquor down these kids' throats, and they don't realize you can die from alcohol poisoning. Every year, some kid in the United States dies from alcohol poisoning because they're just down here being kids, being stupid, not thinking of consequences and how fun that's going to be and how much you can drink. And every year, you need a strong parent side that says, no, I don't go beyond that. They set the boundaries. You need that strong parent side so that they can say no. But I tell especially high school kids, don't go to school all day on your parents' side. If you do, somebody's going to slap you upside the head because you keep sticking your nose in their business. That'll get you beat up, okay? There's times when it's appropriate to be a child. There's times when it's appropriate to be a parent. There's times when it's appropriate to be an adult. The key to this is the situation we're facing right now. Which ego state do we need to access? Which ego state do we need to access? And you got to watch it. I told you I got a strong child side. We were at the coast over at Cambria, out on the wharf out there, And my wife and I are out there, and I said, I'm going to jump off this. She said, what? I'm going to jump off this. This is going to be fun. She goes, you're going to get arrested if you do. And I'm like, what? See that sign right there? It's illegal to jump off the... Oh. Yeah, maybe you're right. If she hadn't been there, I probably would have jumped off that thing, because it just seemed like fun in the moment. Down here in the wrong time, you're going to do dumb things. Okay? You need all 3 of those if you're going to thrive. When do you guys have fun? When do you guys go, just the 2 of you, and have fun? One of the pillars. Do you know how many people neglect having fun? Don't take fun out of your marriage. Okay? When issues come up, can you talk adult to adult? Take the emotions out of it, and let's logically look at the situation. Let's weigh out the pros and the cons, and let's logically decide what we're going to do. Okay? We're going to get ready to close. I brought this book. I picked it up a long time ago. Andy Andrews. It's called Mastering the 7 Decisions That Determine Personal Success. I'm not going to talk about the 7 decisions, but I want to read a story to you. Okay? It's only a page and a half long. I like stories, I like pictures, because you can use the metaphor, okay? So I'm going to read a story to you, and at first you're going to wonder, what the heck is Roger reading this to us in a marriage class for? Hang in there, okay? We're going to use it, we'll draw some lessons from it. In the year 1519, talking 500 years ago, an extraordinary man set sail on the final leg of a voyage from the shores of Cuba to the Yucatan Peninsula on 11 ships, 500 soldiers, 100 sailors, and 16 horses. The mission was clear: to take the world's richest treasure. It was a treasure of gold, silver, artifacts, and jewels. It had been held by the same army for 600 years. This treasure was not a secret. The world knew about this treasure because army after army tried to take it. Conqueror after conqueror had come with their forces to take this treasure, but nobody had been able to do it, not for 600 years. Hernando Cortez was a conqueror. Today, this occupation would be politically incorrect, but back then it was simply a job description. Doctors, bakers, conquerors, you get the idea. Cortez was aware of the many conquerors who'd attempted to claim this treasure but failed. His approach was different. He gathered an army committed beyond the level of the common man. Rather than signing up every recruit that applied, Cortez interviewed first. He talked to them about the treasure, what their lives would be like when they took the treasure, what their families and future generations' lives would be like when they took the treasure. He even fantasized about what it would be like the moment they put their hands on the treasure. He sold the people on the vision. They committed and set sail. Halfway through the voyage, Cortez had a problem. Many of the soldiers and sailors who were once so certain turned into whiners. Mr. Cortez, we're not so sure we should be on this ship anymore. This is not what we expected it to be. When they arrived at the Yucatan Peninsula, Cortez gathered everybody on the beach. They grew quiet, waiting for Cortez to say, "You go here, we'll go there. If the arrows start flying, meet me at this coconut stump. We're out of here." Instead, he leaned in and said, "Burn the boats." "Excuse me?" They replied incredulously. Cortez repeated, "Burn the boats. Torch the boats. If we go home," he added, "we're going home in their boats." And on their leader's orders, they burned their own boats. Google this. This is a true story. He sunk every one of his boats. An amazing thing happened. They fought really well. For the first time in 600 years, the treasure was taken. Why? Because their choice was take the treasure or die. Those are your options. The question for you is simple. What boats in your mind continue to float the excuses and limiting beliefs that are keeping you from getting what you say you want? What boats in your life do you need to burn? The first time I read that story, 3 things jumped out the page. The first is the treasure. What's your treasure? Is your marriage your treasure? Is your family your treasure? What's your treasure? How valuable is your treasure? You willing to give your life for it? Why is it then that so many arguments and we get so tied up with it if it's that valuable? How valuable is your treasure? The second thing that stood out to me, they didn't really talk about it much, but I know as an issue, it was the voyage. Back then, they didn't have motors in the boats, and you can't row across the Atlantic Ocean. They were dependent upon the current in the ocean and the wind to get them to their destinations. There were times when huge storms would come and blow them hundreds of miles off course. How in the world did we get here? But they also have what they call doldrums. No wind, no current, no nothing. They sit for days and weeks, stuck, no movement. You know, life is kind of like that. Huge storms come and blow us way off course. Guys, it's not wise to jump ship in a storm. You're going to drown. But there's also times when we're in the doldrums, it doesn't seem like we're making much progress. We're just kind of existing. We're stuck. It's not wise to jump ship in the doldrums. Sharks circle the boat, waiting. It's just part of the voyage. It's just part of the voyage. But the third thing that stood out to me is those darn boats. What are the mental and emotional habit patterns that will keep you from achieving your treasure? What are your boats? You better identify your boats. You better get rid of your boats. Why didn't Cortez keep one boat? Just in case. Because as soon as it got tough enough, those guys would have packed in that boat. I'm out of here. I didn't sign up for this. And he needed them to take the treasure. The treasure was that valuable. If you keep a boat, you will jump in it when things get tough. And you will never achieve your treasure. How valuable is your treasure? What are you willing to do to get rid of those mental, emotional, and behavioral things that keep us stuck? Let me pray for us. Father God, we pause now. We thank you for even these little concepts here, Lord God. And the weeks that lie ahead, we want to make our marriages strong. We want to learn the concepts and apply them, Lord God. I pray for each one that's here, that even this night, that these concepts will start to go through their mind, and that you will use them to strengthen the marriages. We don't want to have divorces here. We don't want the boats to shipwreck. And Father, we want to glorify you. And I pray your Spirit be upon each one. Bless us now as we get ready to go. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Hey, real quick, guys, on the sign-up sheet, I don't know if you guys are interested. They do what they call a Prepare Enrich questionnaire. It's the most widely used assessment tool of marriages. If you're interested, we can do that, but I need to know that who you are. It's a couple. You got to connect your names, and you both have to have your own address on there. Okay, you both have to have different ones. Okay, to access on your phone, okay, or on your computer. And so, if you want to do that, you pay for that online. I think it's $35 to do that. So I need your email, but you have to have different ones if you want. I'm not requiring it to do it, but if you take it, they will send the results to me, and then I will let you know, and we will look at it together, the results. So what it does, it has like 10 different categories, and there's like 200 questions you have to answer, and it's looking for disagreements and where there's potential problems and growth areas. It's the widely most used tool. But again, it costs about $35. That's up to you, okay? But if you want to do that, put a check on your name there so I know you want that, okay? Otherwise, God bless.